Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told out of Voice of Radio. So today, we need to take a look at the best budget decks coming out of Darkness Ablaze. Now, remember when we talk about this, we're not talking about decks which existed before but got made better or any of that. We are talking about decks which did not exist before Darkness Ablaze, but will exist afterwards. We're also talking about decks, when we say budget, we mean they don't really rely on Gs and GXs and Vs and VMAXs, and Gs aren't a thing, and all of that. We're talking about single prize, cheap rare Pokemon that we can use to make a deck. But what's weird in this particular set, and it might just be that with fewer tournaments around and seeing fewer tournament reports, we've not seen so many, but the good budget decks from Darkness Ablaze are good decks generally. So we need to start off by having a look at a couple of decks that did actually make our list of the best new decks generally from Darkness Ablaze. Now, starting off, we've got Mad Party. Poltergeist lets you discard a Mad Party member, i.e. any Pokemon with the attack Mad Party, from your hand and draw 2 cards. And then for 2 energy, you do 20 damage for each Mad Party member in your discard pile. Bunnelby is your other attacker, because it's just 2 colorless energy. He can use Twin Energy. Poltergeist can use that, or Triple Acceleration. And then we've got Dedenne, free energy, so you're only going to use it as discard fodder. And then we've also got Galarian Mr. Rhyme, stage 1, free energy. Again, it's going to be discard fodder. But you build up your discard with lots of these, and away you smash. The other Pokemon, which has proven to be part of many different decks, is Decidueye. And it's very difficult for me to tell you what the good Decidueye deck moving forward is going to be. I can tell you that Decidueye is just a rare, so it ain't going to be that expensive. Also come out as a pre-release promo. And I can tell you that it's got an amazing ability, Deep Forest Camo, that basically makes it immune to damage from Pokemon V and Pokemon GX. The attack 90 to the active, 20 to 2 of your opponent's bench is fine, but it's not spectacular, don't get too excited. The real question becomes, what do we play Decidueye with? We've seen versions of Decidueye just playing Rowlet and Alolan Executor, love the synergy there of course, Rowlet. And the new Beedrill that's got the same ability but as a single prize Pokemon with free retreat. As we saw with Greninja GX from Detective Pikachu, though very much worth pointing out, this particular build won't be legal immediately because this Beedrill is actually going to be in our November set, Vivid Voltage. It's not going to be in Darkness Ablaze. Similarly, we've seen it played with the new Greedent. Now, Greedent is the one that, like Mean Shower before it, lets you do 100 damage and you put it and all cards attached to it into your hand. Like Mean Shower, but that only did 40 damage, you do 100. So that could be the way to play it. Attack with Greedent, put Greedent in your hand, put Decidueye active to block, and round we go. Just earlier today, yesterday, very recently at least, I showed you a build with Inteleon to either give you extra consistency drawing trainers when you evolve into Drizzile or Inteleon, and also gives you an attacker against those pesky non-GX, non-V fire Pokemon that would otherwise be causing you some issues. I don't know which the best version of Decidueye is, although honestly, I'm liking Greedent or Inteleon. I'm going to be testing both of them to make my decision. But I do feel like Decidueye is going to be a great deck, and it really does seem like whichever build comes out on top, it's going to be a pretty budget-friendly build, and that's going to make Decidueye pretty good. Now, outside of that, we got a bunch of decks that haven't necessarily seen success in Japan, but they fit the profile, so to speak. One of them is KEEPER.DEC. Shout out to the lovely Birdkeeper Toby, who did reveal this card, give me an English scan, and is just an all-around lovely dude. Now, Birdkeeper Toby is a switch that lets you draw free cards. It's a very good card that is played as a one-of in an awful lot of decks. It really is a one-of in most decks over in Japan at the moment. Okay. So what's Birdkeeper.DEC? Well, it is a deck that revolves around, wait for it, bird Pokemon. So you're aiming to play Bird Keeper basically every turn, and then you'll be using cards like Pal Pad to make sure you recover them, and Pokegear 3.0 to try and make sure that you draw into it more easily, etc, etc. So we can look at Rowlet here, and Rowlet is one of these Pokemon that attacks for free, just so long as you've played Bird Keeper from your hand this turn. And Rowlet does 60 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. So the goal here, of course, is to try and make sure that your opponent's weaker Pokemon on their bench just get taken out immediately. You stop their setup by using a 0 energy Rowlet. And then, of course, because you're not using energy on stuff like Rowlet, that really does open the door to tech in basically whatever you want. We can also take advantage of Starly here. Again, if you've used Bird Keeper this turn, you attack for free. And what Starly does is search your deck for any 2 cards and put them into your hand. So you could either go a bit aggro taking out bench Pokemon with Rowlet, or you could use Starly to help yourself get set up, bearing in mind that what you're essentially doing is leaving a Pokemon in the active, searching out cards or sniping, while you're attaching energy, etc. to the bench and getting set up in that way. Then, of course, we've got the wonderful Swanna. I love Swanna. Of course, I also love Ducklet, so I am in no way, shape or form impartial here, and I'm not really trying to be. Swanna again has that same ability, so if you've used Bird Keeper this turn, you attack for free. Although, being an evolved Pokemon for free colorless energy, you can use triple acceleration energy if you haven't played Bird Keeper Toby this turn. I do say Bird Keeper Toby sometimes, I don't mean to, but whenever I do say it by accident, I'm not editing it out. We'll see if Toby notices, won't we? Don't tell him. He's got to notice organically. And what Swanna does is 70 damage, but if you discard a card, any card from your hand, it does 140. Now, I am upset that this is the first time we've ever seen a non-water Swanna. Cheers for that. But I will say that 140 for 0 energy on a free retreat single prize Pokemon, I can think of worse things, ladies and gentlemen. I can definitely think of worse things. And bearing in mind, I've just given you a stage 1 and a couple of basics. You can play whatever you like in this deck, and all the Pokemon I've shown you attach for colorless energy, even if you haven't played Bird Keeper this term. So what I'm getting at is, do what you like. This is very much a skeleton of a deck that could turn into anything, and that's one of the things that excites me about it so much. Now, a deck which might not end up being good, but I'm crossing my fingers so hard because it's a stupid fun deck, Toxtricity. Toxtricity for just 2 energy, bearing in mind you got triple acceleration or twin, so you're good in that regard, lets you flip a coin. And if heads, you discard the top 5 cards of your opponent's deck, and if tails, you discard the top 5 cards of your deck. But then do please bear in mind you will be playing Glimwood Tangle, which does what the old Victini did, so you've actually got to flip 2 tails to discard the top 5 cards of your deck. Possible, but unlikely. And then what you're doing here is just milling out your opponent. We've seen a lot of harsh to mill decks lately. Balabra and Brycerman getting banned is not great for milling decks. And we've seen that things like Centiskorch and Rhyhorn, or Rhydon, haven't actually ended up being good enough. But if you want to play a mill deck and you don't want to spend a lot of money, Toxtricity is one that I would recommend rather highly indeed. Now, my personal favourite of this list is the new Copperajah. You see, the new Copperajah has a lot going for it and could end up being really good. Copperajah's got an ability that makes it immune to special conditions, which is a nice little bonus. But for 4 energy, it does 120 damage, but if any of your bench Pokemon have any damage counters on, you do 240. Bearing in mind you're a single prize 190 HP Pokemon that's immune to special conditions, so you're probably going to be able to sit there for a couple of turns doing 240. And 240 will KO anything that isn't a VMAX or Tag Team Pokemon. Bearing in mind they all give up 3 prizes and you give up 1. And essentially here, that's the deck. It is just Copperajah. You can use twin or triple acceleration energy. You can use Metal Saucer to accelerate some energy. There's a new Dialga coming, not in this set, in the next set. that lets you attach 2 metal energy from your discard to your bench Pokemon. Until then, we do still have Duraludon for the early game, and you're playing a single prize deck, you can afford a couple turns of Duraludon before you go down by a single prize. And I don't know if Copperajah is going to end up being too slow or not, but I do know we've got giant HP, immune to special conditions, big damage, and an attack cost which is actually payable. Yeah. Did I mention Smitemas Stadium yet? It's a stadium whereby whenever anybody puts one of their Pokemon from the active to the bench, retreating, switching, whatever, during their turn, they take 2 damage counters. So I know one of your bench has to have damage on in order for Copperajah's attack to really activate properly. You still do 120 otherwise, but that's not good for 4 energy. But Spikemuth makes it so we're really not worried. We're going to be absolutely fine. And then we finish off with a category that I like to call the Stage 2s. Stage 2 Pokemon that might not end up being good, that might end up being a bit slow, but these are going to be Pokemon that are going to be very cheap and may well end up being a nice little deck. So it's stuff that if you're playing on a budget, I would really recommend playing around with these cards. First of all, Blaziken. Now, look, they're all Stage 2s, we're not going to worry about that. I've made videos about how we can make Stage 2s work at the moment, but with stuff like Rosa, you get a Pokemon KO'd and Rosa searches you out a Stage 2 and a Trainer, Rare Candy, and an Energy. I think you'll be fine. I think we can make it work, alright? So Blaziken here has got an ability that makes it both Fire and Fighting type, which is awesome, because it means that you can hit weakness on all that stuff like Eternatus VMAX, while still being a fire Pokemon. And then, of course, you've got stuff like Welder to accelerate that fire energy, though you don't need much of it, you can start using stuff like Twin Energy if you like. And the attack does 130, and attaches a basic energy from your discard pile to one of your bench Pokemon. So yes, you've got to evolve up into the Stage 2 and that sucks, etc. But when you do, the energy should be there waiting for you. And between Welder, Twin Energy, and this ability, you should never be worried about energy. If you can just evolve up into Stage 2, you're hitting weakness on all the grass Pokemon, all the metal Pokemon, quite a few of the darkness Pokemon, and all of the colorless Pokemon. You see where I'm going with this? All the lightning Pokemon. You are hitting more weaknesses than basically any other Pokemon here. This is really nice. Plus 170 on a single prize Pokemon, not to be sniffed at. Now, Flygon is another cool one for me, and I love the fact that both of these are on my team I'm currently using to fight the Elite Four on Alpha Sapphire. And what we love about Flygon is 2 things. Actually, multiple things. But the attack for free energy does 130, and if your opponent has a stadium in play, you discard it, and during your next turn, this Pokemon is basically invincible. Prevent all effective attacks, including damage from your opponent's Pokemon. That's pretty gosh darn good. Very gosh darn good. And sure, it will make your opponent stop putting stadiums in play, but that's fine. Plus, it's got an ability that stops your opponent's active retreating like Snorlax did back when he was a Team Plasma Pokemon. And you can use this to basically trap Pokemon in the active, to buy yourself turns to set up, to take 2 or 3 prize KOs, or 2 or 3 hit KOs on 2 or 3 prize Pokemon, and just allow yourself, to be honest, right, there'll be times late in the game where your opponent's out of switching options, and you can literally use this to trap them in the active and win the game right there and then. It's a Stage 2 and it's awkward, but this one has a real potential to be a really good deck. And the last one is a Pokemon that I wanted on my team for my run through the Elite Four on Alpha Sapphire, but I was unwilling to cut Wailord, even though I've got a Ludicolo in my team already providing the water-type coverage. I don't even care, and I'm not even sorry. But otherwise, all 3 of these would be on my Elite Four team, and that's kind of fun. But anyway, what does this do? It can't be one-hit KO'd. If it's got full HP, and it would be KO'd by damage from an attack, it goes down to 10 HP, but stays alive, and that's where you get all of the healing coming in. Now, 4 energy 160 is quite expensive, but again, we got Metal Source, we got Twin Energy, we got Triple Acceleration, and you can go Metal Source or Triple Acceleration here and pay this in one go. And this is my least favourite of the three. It's a bit too expensive and it's not hitting great weakness and all of that. But if you can get some decent healing going on here, you could basically end up with a Pokemon that just never gets KO'd. There will be those decks playing Galarian Zigzagoon, drop 1 damage counter, then they can do what they like, and that will suck. And it does have a not great weakness to fire, but it's one that I wanted to mention on the end here anyway. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Want to play Pokemon but don't want to spend a lot of money? If you're starting with Darkness Ablaze or you just want some new decks from Darkness Ablaze, these are the ones that I would recommend quite heartily. But now it's over to you guys. Which of these do you think looks good? Which of these are you planning to test? And are there any other budget decks from Darkness Ablaze which I haven't mentioned that you think I should have? Go nuts in the comment section, but be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.